Oh boy, this is a conversation that I think we should have had earlier in the season, but you know what? I wanted to let it marinate a little bit. Wanted to see what the sample size could get up to for this player, this prospect that we're going to be diving into today. Because today's commentary topic, today's video, we're going over a guy that we've already made one video about, at least. And the one video that we made about this dude was all the way back during the 2025 NHL Draft, when the Montreal Canadiens selected him in the 3rd round. Other than that, we haven't made a single commentary about this guy until now. And my gosh, it is absolutely a good time to be talking about this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking our commentary conversations over to the Medicine Hat Tigers in the WHL, where one Montreal Canadiens, Bryce Pickford, has taken over the team. Not literally, he's just a player on the team. There are still coaches, GMs, and executives that are above him, but technically Bryce Pickford is one of the best players on the Medicine Hat Tigers this year, and he is a Montreal Canadiens prospect whom you should know about. He's a 19-year-old from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, 6'1", 185, a right-handed defenseman, drafted by the Canadiens in the 81st overall spot in the 3rd round of this most recent draft. And the interesting thing about Bryce Pickford is the fact that he was drafted out of the Medicine Hat Tigers in the WHL allowed some folks to question whether or not this was a guy that was really as good as his numbers would have implied. Because when Pickford was drafted by Montreal, by the way, he was an overage draft pick. He was actually eligible for 2024's NHL Entry Draft, but was undrafted out of the Seattle Thunderbirds. In his Draft Plus 1 season, he was a point-per-game defenseman with the Medicine Hat Tigers and way over a point per game in the playoffs. 47 points in 48 games in the regular season. In the postseason, he had 24 points in 18 games. On top of this, he had more goals than assists in the postseason and had a 20-goal regular season on top of that. You could very well make the argument that, hey, this guy's playing on Medicine Hat, this guy's playing with Gavin McKenna, so of course his numbers are going to be super high, plus he's an overager. No wonder Pickford was taken in the 3rd round. But my oh my, have we started to see that absolutely elite offensive talent in the WHL put itself on display this year, because right now, Bryce Pickford has 44 points in 31 games, and 25 goals on top of that. Oh my goodness, we spoke about this in the scouting report video back in June when he was taken by the Canadiens, but he's an all-around defenseman with goal-scoring capabilities, proactively filling gaps in around defensive zone coverage, many of which he creates with give-and-goes. Using the weak side, middle, and lateral space, Bryce Pickford is constantly open for one-timers and especially walk-in wristers. When a pass comes near, he gets in motion, catches it straight into his shooting pocket, conceals his release, and snipes. The fact that this guy has 25 goals on the season already, he is on pace for a 53-goal year, is outstanding as the captain of the Medicine Hat Tigers. And if you go over to the WHL as it stands right now, Bryce Pickford leads the league in goals. Yeah, I think we probably should have started out with that. He leads the league in goals as a defenseman. What in the world? Who does that? How is that even possible? The top scoring defenseman in the WHL, the 2nd place guy in terms of goals, is Jonas Wu, who has 9 fewer goals than Bryce Pickford. Interestingly enough, Wu also plays for the Medicine Hat Tigers, so their defense are really getting in on the goal scoring here. A few days ago, there was a post made on the Habs subreddit where Bryce Pickford walks in on the power play and absolutely fires a one-timer from the Ovi spot. This video was posted, and some of the comments have some interesting conversations about this guy. Guys Tant goes out there and asks, "Somebody please tell me what to make of Bryce Pickford. I don't know how to evaluate overage offensive defensemen in the WHL. I've seen a lot of good things, such as his high production, good shot, and captaincy, but I don't want to overhype him." Top Reply says, "As of yesterday, Bryce Pickford had a 34 NHL equivalency score. Here are other Habs prospects with similar NHL E-scores at the same age. Josh Brook, Adam Engstrom, Bogdan Konyushkov, and PK Subban. Essentially, it's good production, but it's not so good that you're assuming he'll make the team or be a star. For that, I look at what the eye test scouts are saying. If he can sustain this in the AHL next year against men, we might start talking about a top 4 guy. For now, I'd err on the side of cautious optimism." And there are various things that you can take from these names that are being listed alongside of Pickford. Similar NHL equivalency scores out of Josh Brook, Adam Engstrom, Konyushkov, and Subban. Context matters when it comes to Brook. Ace K goes out there and said, "He was 4th in scoring on a fairly high-scoring WHL Moose Jaw Warriors team. Compare that to Pickford, who is leading his team in scoring and has 11 more goals than the highest-scoring forward. Also, Engstrom and Konyushkov will need more time to get a better picture of their future, but yes, you are right. If he ends up scoring 80-ish points this year, it's impressive, but not a guarantee that he ends up making the NHL." So, with that in mind, let's compare Bryce Pickford to one of the guys that actually did become a pretty good NHL goal-scoring defenseman in PK Subban. Literally one of the comparisons NHL equivalency-wise on the comment. If you take a look at Pickford and his projected 93 points in 66 games this year, when PK Subban was the same age, Subban had 76 points in 56 OHL games. Now, he only had 14 goals in that span as well. So, Bryce Pickford has Subban beat by quite a long shot when it comes to that. The next few years, you saw PK go over into the AHL and inevitably the NHL, becoming the Norris-winning 60-point defenseman that he was in his prime. PK Subban was absolutely one of the best young defensemen in the league coming into the early 2010s era. But PK obviously left a long-lasting impression in Montreal as a number 1 D-man. Bryce Pickford is unfortunately not going to be that, with Lane Hutson as the top offensive dude and Noah Dobson also filling out in that top pair long term. But if Bryce Pickford can max out as a very strong offensive AHL producer next year, then we might start to think about this guy as a lethal power play 2 threat for Montreal if he's able to consistently put together those results. You also had Gavin McKenna go out there and make a few statements about Bryce Pickford. There was a video on Twitter yesterday of Andrew Thompson, Drew Deeks. It's a video of Gavin McKenna literally speaking out about Pickford from the Medicine Hat Tigers experience that they had together. And McKenna says that, yeah, like, he plays a pro game, it's crazy what he's doing, his shot. I was not surprised to see him go out there and explode more offensively this year. At the end of the day, though, we had all the hype in the world a few years ago about Josh Brook when he was with the Moose Jaw Warriors tearing down the scene there. Bryce Pickford, sure, he's a year older, but he is undisputably the top point producer for his WHL team. He is the top goal scorer in the league as a defenseman. Who does that? He's on pace for 50 goals this year. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this one-timing, puck-shooting, offensive zone roving, right-handed defenseman Bryce Pickford and what he could provide the Montreal Canadiens long-term? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.